This episode of the Golf Gambling Podcast from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up at underdogfantasy.com, promo code GOLFSGPN to get $1,000 in bonus credits. Looking for all of SGPN's picks and podcasts in one convenient place? You can now download the free SGPN app wherever you get your apps. Edge Boost. Have you ever had your deposit blocked by your bank after a big night? Ever needed that cash at 2 a.m. for another shot at the tables? Edge Boost has your back. Edge Boost is the first ever bank account built for bettors. Edge Boost gives you fast, reliable access funds, making it easier than ever to move money around. And way easier than traditional banks. For you high rollers, you can move up to $250,000 a day with your Edge Boost Visa debit card with unlimited withdrawals. This works for 24/7 instant deposit. Every time you deposit, you're qualified for a cashback reward up to 0.5%. Edge Boost is a debit account that makes it easy to get started. No credit checks, no minimum balance, and no usage fees. Simply verify your identity and you're ready to go. Edge Boost has a suite of responsible gambling tools to help you manage your bankroll. What are you waiting for? EdgeBoost.bet, promo code SGPN. EdgeBoost.bet, promo code SGPN. And finally, MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on every single sport, including the NBA playoffs. Props for every single game. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations. Easy deposit using crypto and lightning fast payouts. Head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. Okay, we are here to talk RBC Heritage DFS. I'll tell you right now, I'll save the Masters recap for the pod with Dom later tonight. We're gonna go we're gonna do the betting show on Monday afternoon and talk about what happened with Rory with the Masters. But nonetheless, what a 24 hours it's been. I'll save that. So let's get into the RBC Heritage. I know that's what we're here to do, and we have to move on and get to every single week. So 10K range and above. This is honestly a big range. We have Patrick Cantlay 10, JT, Xander, Colin, Ludwig, Scotty. So why not break this down into two ranges? We will go the top three and the bottom three. Who was my pick from Scotty, Ludwig, and Colin? So it's definitely a tough ask, but I think I'm gonna go with Colin here. I really do think Colin is the play because yeah, Scotty won here last year. Scotty is the number one player in the world. But looking at Scotty's week at Augusta, he finished T4, but he did not hit the ball well. It just goes to show how great of a golfer he is. He's due to have a week that's just the dog, and the ability to just get the ball in the hole isn't going to get him to a T4 finish. And he lost strokes. He lost strokes off the tee, which is definitely a concerning thing from Scotty Scheffler. He had it okay on approach, and it was a great short game week, but he's not clicking on all cylinders to verify that 13-1 price or 13,000 whatever price that he has. Now down to Colin Morikawa. When Colin Morikawa is clicking, when Colin Morikawa is going, he's really parlaying great approach weeks, and he's doing that right now. Great approach weeks at the Masters, great approach week at the Players, and now this is two straight really good starts heading to a golf course that he's played really well on before, and it's a golf course that makes sense for Colin Morikawa on paper. You want someone who's going to play out of the fairway, but more than that, the RBC Heritage has shifted to a distance bias over the last few seasons because better players are playing in the field. This used to be an event for the Webb Simpsons, the plotters that they'd only play because it was after the Masters and that these elevated guys didn't have to play. Now all the best players in the world more than likely have to play because this is an elevated event. And the better players in the world are the longer players. It's just how it goes. So this distance bias is making these guys play better. But so I'm saying that about Colin Morikawa. You could say that he's a plotter going to hit every single fairway. Colin is sneaky long and sneaky longer than he gets credit for. So with that being said, I trust him to hit fairways while being longer than the plotters. And then from there, he's a generational iron player and a generational wedge player, and he's in great wedge form. So at this 10,900 price, I'm clicking him, saving some salary and not going all the way up to Scotty. I'll touch on Ludwig. I don't really trust the approach play right now because it's he drove it really well at Augusta, but the approach play was not too great. So let's get down to the Xander, Colin, JT, Pat. Xander, Colin, JT, Pat. I'll say right now, we talk about Patrick Cantlay on a weekly basis. We talk about Patrick Cantlay at majors. We talk about Patrick Cantlay in big events. But one thing that really will never do you wrong is playing Patrick Cantlay at Patrick Cantlay courses. I believe he's played this event 7 times, and 6 times he's finished T7 or better. It's just when Pat gets on the courses that he's comfortable on, he just plays well. And he's coming into this week in some really nice approach form, some of the more consistent approach form he's shown in a year's time. And it's a great number. It's a great price in DraftKings. It's a great betting number too. I do think he's a bit unserious as a golfer, but in DFS, when you're asking for a T7, a T5 on a golf course that he's proven to do it time and time again, I do think it's a great call. So Patrick Cantlay at 10,000, what's the price again? 10,100. My screen's really messing with me. 10,000 flat. I think he's a better play than JT. Xander, I could see Xander, but I'd prefer Pat. I really would. So let's rank this range. I think it's Pat, Xander, JT, and at the top, I think it's Colin, Scotty, Ludwig. If I have to rank those 6 golfers separately, 9K range, Corey Connors down to Victor Hovland. I really do think it's a great bounce back week for Russell Henley at $9,700. Last week at the Masters was the first time Russell Henley has ever gone into a major with real expectations. Like the dude won Bay Hill. The dude has finished top 5 of the Masters before. The dude is coming off of a President's Cup. He's like, all right, I've played well at Augusta before. I can contend. And he missed the cut. He's never had that pressure of expectations going into major ever in his career, and he did last week. But with that being said, he still had a really nice iron week in his missed cut in his 2 rounds, and he's been having a great iron week all year. I mean, he's a generational iron player. So you combine all those things, the number is fair, a little flop lag bounce back because he was popular last week. He's hitting the ball fine, and this is a much better spot. Like, he can breathe. He failed with the pressure. But now this is a golf course that he's played a ton and knows his way around here, and it suits his game perfectly. So top of the 9K range, I think Russ is surely the click. I would click him I would click him rather than Corey Connors, because Corey Connors is going to be chalky for sure. Shane Lowry, Tommy Fleetwood. I don't know if Shane Lowry deserves to be higher priced than Tommy Fleetwood. They're both, Shane Lowry's hitting it better, but Tommy Fleetwood will backdoor it. Jordan, if he's not chalky, is a golf course that he plays really well at, and he showed some decent signs of the Masters, didn't hit it great. But I think I prefer Victor Hovland down here, because Victor Hovland's week by week looking more comfortable, hitting the golf ball a lot better, and he seems more confident with it in his press conferences, seems more confident with speaking to the media. So I would say by far my favorite play in the 9K range is Russell Henley, $9,700. And I think Jason Day is the easy fade for me, because he played well last week, but when Jason Day gets chalky and gets like, oh yeah, Jason Day played really nice, it doesn't really go well. So I think he's one of my only cross-offs here. I might just have to cross off. Hand up, I love Corey Connors. I really do. But a chalky Corey Connors is not someone that I will click. I love Russell Henley, top of the 9K range for sure. 8K range, Sepp Straka down to J Rose. And I'll start with J Rose. Shout out J Rose. What a week he posted at Augusta. But I think J Rose is in massive, easy cross-off this week. The dude plays well in majors. The dude plays well in events that he really cares about at this point of his career. He spoke with D-Rap, shout out D-Rap, about not 7 more wins or another major. He chose the major. He knows what he wants to do. His focus is not on the RBC Heritage. He's not going to be like, yeah, I'm going to play like shit. But he's coming off of that stress. He was in contention for 4 straight days. He's going to be chalky at 8K. Pivot somewhere else. I think there's way better plays. Daniel Berger makes a ton of sense, but I'm hearing some early chalk on Daniel Berger, so that leads me to go to Maverick McNeely. Maverick McNeely, $8,100, just continues to play decent golf, continues to hit the ball well, and this is a man who won the RSM Classic, which is a golf course that asks you to do very similar things than you needed to do at Hilton Head. So Maverick McNeely, I think, is a great call here. And towards the middle, Sung J M, stay away. Finished T5 of the Masters, did not have one chance to ever get in contention. He backdoored it. But when Sung J Chalk, I think, is a tough scene. I will say this is a fair price. So I don't think it's the worst click in the world, but he could be a little chalky. I'm willing to go back to Bob Mack, and I want to see what Wyndham Clark did on approach. So Clark finished T46. He lost like 3.5 strokes on approach. Tough look from Windy. So probably out on him as well. So let's go to the 7K range before we get out of here. So 7K, bigger range. We'll split this into two. We'll go Denny McCarthy down to Bud Cauley. So Denny at $7,900 at the Masters. I want to see how he hit the ball. So Denny finished T29 at the Masters, was field average. This is a good profile from Denny. He was average. He was literally like middle of the pack off the tee approach. It was 0.04 off the tee, 0.1 on approach, 0.06 around the green, and 0.72 putting. And he finished even par. Like that's the most like level thing you could ever see. Which at Augusta for Denny McCarthy, I think that is a great profile. Think back to the Valero Texas Open when Denny was Giga Chalk, when he was like 10K range. This is a very similar golf course and a very similar style of golf that Denny needs to, or that Denny should play well on. So at 79, I think you're getting a lot from him, and I think he could definitely play well at this price. Down here, expect Poston to be a little chalky, expect Spawn to be a little chalky, and I could see Akshay being a little chalky, but I'm staying away from Akshay because those first two rounds were solid, but they were built on some insane short game, and it's not what you really want. Aaron Rai, he's someone who is a great, accurate driver of the golf ball, and he had a nice gain about a stroke on approach. He did everything well but putt, finished T27. I think this is a great week for Aaron Rai to pop a little bit. Towards the middle, I think we're finally getting a fair price on Siwoo Kim. We haven't gotten a fair price on Siwoo Kim in a long freaking time. He wasn't in the Masters, was he? No, Siwoo Kim was not in the Masters. He had a week off, but this man was priced in the 9K range for the last like few events, 9K, upper 8K range for no reason. And he hasn't been playing well. He's been a fade of mine in the 9K and the 8K range every single week. I'm like, why is Siwoo priced up here? And it hasn't been good. But now we're finally getting some fallback on Siwoo. $7,600, going extremely under the radar. Is he playing good golf? No. But is he going under the radar? Yes. And Siwoo is so random, he could pop at any inkling or any matter. So I think this is a great week to try to buy Siwoo at $7,600. So he's going to be cheap in terms of ownership, and I think it's a great price. So I think he's a great click in this middle of the 7K range. Let's go down a little bit, talk about the bottom of the 7K range. We'll go from Ben On down to Will Zalatoris and Sam Burns. $7,000 is hilarious. Like, this is a man who was talked about, when is he going to win a major? And now he's near the 6K range, which is a tough scene. Got a question. My thoughts on low-owned guys that can – okay. When you summarize, what are your thoughts on guys that are low-owned that can hit? So, basically, can you, like – I don't really know what you're asking. You always want – low – are you asking what a low-owned guy means? If you're asking what a low-owned guy means, it's in terms of DFS, every golfer has ownership, and the higher guys are in more lineups. And if you can get guys that are lower-owned in terms of, for example, Scotty Scheffler and Colin Morikawa. Scotty Scheffler is going to be higher owned than Colin Morikawa. Or that's kind of a bad example. But if you have a guy that's low owned and they play well, you have that many more avenues to beat. So, because how am I going to word this? If you have 5% of Akshay Bhatia and someone else has, no, I'm wording this poorly. I'm sorry. I'm wording this poorly. If Akshay Bhatia is 5% owned and the guy right above him is 20% owned, if your guy at 5% outperforms the guy at 20%, you're going to beat that many more lineups because everyone. So avoiding guys that everyone has in their lineups. If you find those low owned pivot guys that can outperform the chalky guys that everyone has in their lineups, you have such an easier avenue to succeed. So when I say low owned guys, I'm not like out on chalk, but when chalk doesn't hit and you have the pivot, the low owned pivot that outperforms them, you defeat those lineups far more easier. So sometimes you have to have some chalky guys. Sometimes you have to have a little bit of both, because sometimes chalk hits, like they're gonna hit. Yeah, basically contrarian picks, and I'm very contrarian in my golf betting, even golf betting, which doesn't make sense to be contrarian in, because in betting you're betting against the sports book. It's 1v1. In DFS, you're playing against a pool of people, so you're playing against your peers. It's much better to get different in DFS than betting, but I just like to get different in terms of betting too, because hitting golf, I only bet, if you don't know much about like my style, I only do outrights. I only bet outrights. I don't bet top fives. I don't bet top tens. I don't bet matchups. I only bet outrights. So hitting golf outrights is really, really hard. Like, no one said that's easy. And I set it up where I have to win one outright every 7 weeks. So I get contrarian in my golf betting outrights because, like I said, they're hard to hit. So if I could find any avenue, if like the public selections never go well, if they did, everyone would be rich. It'd be easy to be like, yeah, like, who was trendy last week? Colin Morikawa. Yeah, he's played well at Augusta before. He's 15-1. Like, this should be easy. He didn't come close. The week before, who was chalky at Valero? Who was chalky? He was super chalky at Valero. Or say like the week that Michael Kim was like 35-1 and he was in great form, clicked every single box. A 35-1 Michael Kim is not going to just hit when it makes so much sense. So I just get very contrarian in my outright picks. And I mean, it's worked for me. I try to hit one winner every 7 weeks, and I have a 7x return on investment on my betting cards. So, for example, if I'm risking $100 a week, I want to have my outright picks return $700. So no matter if I hit a favorite or I hit a mega long shot, I change how much I'm risking. Depends on, like, if I'm going to wager more on a 7-1 guy than I am on a 100-1 guy. But no matter what it hits or what hits, I'm going to pay, the same is going to be paid out. So that's how I do it. If you want a more detailed breakdown on like a calculator, which I use, then I will get that. But bottom of the 7K range, my pick would be, let me pull my screen up now. Bottom of the 7K range, my pick would be Sahith Theegala. Sahith Theegala is a golfer who has not been playing that great this year. But when you look at his numbers, he's coming off of his best approach week since the RBC Heritage of last year. It's kind of the perfect storm. Like, he's been squandering strokes on approach. He finally clicks for a week, and he heads to the course where he had his best approach week of the year. So it makes a ton of sense. Like, golfers are very mental. You have that one little inkling that gets you to the next step, and Sahith could have had it. And when Sahith gets under-owned and underpriced, that's when he pops. You never, ever want a chalky Sahith because he's so volatile and so boom or bust. Now he's cheap. Now he's going to go under-owned. So I like Sahith at the bottom of the 7K range. Let's get into the 6K range before we get out of here and give you a few picks. I think you should stay away from Max Homa. Max Homa, obviously, first of all, if you commented, I tweeted on Tuesday, Max Homa is going to make the cut. And it was like I was asking to pull your teeth. It was like the worst thing I could have ever tweeted. You were like, Max Homa's not going to freaking make the cut. He freaking made the cut. Like, come on. But with that being said, I don't want to see you guys be like, oh, Max Homa, $6,700. I think he's a good play this week. Recency bias is a hell of a drug. If Max Homa garners any chalk down here, stay away. I wouldn't mind going to, although he's an unserious ball striker, he's a man of Bermuda, and that's Jacob Bridgman. He plays well on Bermuda tracks. But I really don't love the top of this 6K range. I love Glover at most. Glover cannot handle Augusta. He just cannot handle Augusta. I think it's a good bounce back spot. Towards the bottom, Eric Cole. This is definitely an Eric Cole golf course. Sam Stevens, I like off the tee, but I really cannot trust his approach game. And then Ryo Hisatane. He's been doing nothing but playing good golf. And this is a golf course that Ryo should play well on. When he's at his best, he's minting fairways, and he's a great approach player in terms of short and mid irons. That's what this course asks, and that's what Ryo is. And then towards the bottom, I think Adam Hadwin is a great selection. Adam Hadwin he's 6K min. That is a great price for Adam Hadwin. Because what does Adam Hadwin do well? Hits fairways and hits your short irons well. What do you need to do at Hilton Head? Those two things. So I think he's a great selection. If you want to go with Scotty, then click Hadwin next and fill in the gaps from there. But that about sums it up. Thank you guys for listening. I got the betting show tonight with Dom. So drop a comment in there. Let me know what you think. And as always, thank you for the support. I'll catch you guys soon. Peace out.